Good afternoon, everyone. This is Maria Morgan, Marketing Coordinator for eQuorum, and I will be your host for today's File Security and Access Control webinar. We do recommend you call in on your phone for optimal sound quality, and we ask that you place your phone on mute until the end. You can also maximize your screen by clicking on the button at the bottom right corner. We'll be answering questions at the end, so feel free to send those in to me using the chat feature at the top of your screen. We'll also be recording this for later distribution. I have with me eQuorum President and CEO Scott Brandt and Director of Sales David Thomas. We're ready to get started.
Thanks, Maria, and thank you everybody for your time for this presentation. It will be about 20 minutes or so. We'll have some time on the back end for some questions. Please send the questions using the chat feature. That's the little bubble button at the top of your screen. And please send those to Maria Morgan. She'll show up in the list. And we'll try to get to those at the end. If we don't happen to get to all the questions, we will be happy to email you answers at the end. So let's get started. I'm Scott Brandt, and President and CEO, and I have with me Maria Morgan and David Thomas. Sorry, David. So there have been some historical approaches to safekeeping of electronic files and intellectual property, including hardware switches and firewalls, software server software, including things like intrusion detection software, antivirus, malware protection, email scanners. And there's also been client software, the software that sits on the user's machine, document management solutions, restrictive functionality and access privileges set by IT, and even end-user monitoring programs that can sit on the user's machines. And of course, we have formal corporate policies on access and handling, and the emailing, and even the use of USB drives. With all the effort to thwart hackers from getting into the corporate servers, the hackers are now taking a different approach to get to files. The bad guys are now using phishing emails, where they are sending emails that pose as real emails, malware delivered through email attachments, and even website redirection when clicking on links in emails or on websites. Once clicked on, the software is usually inserted using background processes on your machine. And the embedded software can do things like monitor and record user actions and passwords, report back to foreign entities, disrupt your local applications, insert software on the server, or even take over the machine, and we all know about ransomware. So organizations are authoring more formal policies and procedures to meet security and privacy guidelines. The IT departments are issuing more policies and procedures, basically looking for best practices and complying with information security guidelines. Companies that do business with the federal government must meet the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, requirements and guidelines. Specifically, NIST Special Publication 800-53, Security and Privacy Controls for Federal Information Systems and Organizations. And companies dealing with foreign corporations or foreign countries must also comply with International Traffic in Arms Regulations, or ITAR, for specific information, even though they're not specifically trading in arms. So these NIST guidelines have become de facto standards for many companies to follow for IT security. So although not all companies are required to meet NIST Special Publication 800-53 regulations, those not dealing with the federal government, many have adopted the standards as best practice. So organizations can complete NIST compliance audit assessments to gauge their organizational level of information and information systems securitization. NIST, the compliance assessment looks at 14 security categories as specified within the special publication. And an audit also ensures an adequate SSP, which is a system security plan, which typically includes a detailed narrative of the organization's security control implementation, detailed system descriptions, including components and services inventory, and detailed depiction of all systems data flows and authorization boundaries. So a primary tenet of information security per the NIST guidelines is access control. And access control is one of the key controls specified in the NIST special publication. And within access control, we have access enforcement, which is, again, one of 25 controls under access control. Access control per NIST uses the core security principles of least privilege and least functionality. So users should only get access to information they are privileged to and only be able to manipulate information with functionality they're allowed to employ. Basically, this means who gets to see, print, download, change, and distribute files, and under what conditions. This access control gets degraded or even lost when files are downloaded to local computers, printed, or distributed via email. There is, and always will be, the vulnerability of image theft. What we mean by that is once images are viewable, they can be captured by screen capture software or by taking a physical picture of the screen. So some organizations have tried to mitigate this by restricting individuals from bringing in cameras or even smartphones with cameras. But the key here is still to prevent people from viewing files they don't or should not have access to. And the greater risk comes when files are downloaded, printed, or emailed as attachments. So once on the local machine, files can be moved almost anywhere, renamed, encrypted, corrupted. And in addition, files can also be put on thumb drives, DVDs, emailed, or forwarded to cloud destinations, which is a total loss of control. So how do you make your information more secure? And here are some of the guidelines that eQuorum has with our customers, and we work on with our customers. Don't let users see files they don't have permission to see. Don't use a system that downloads files to user machines, even to temp files, for viewing, printing, and emailing. Don't let users download files wherever possible. Don't let users send files as email attachments. So we encourage using links to force users to look at the files and mark up the files in a secure environment. But if you have to send the files as email attachments, make sure files are passworded. Don't let users print files wherever possible. Don't let users delete files. Continuing, always create file versions and keep for auditability. Keep an audit trail of all your actions taken by users by file. Encrypt files on the disk storage. Always make sure all communications between the users and the network are using SSL connections. If files are downloaded to a tablet or a smartphone to be used offline, for instance, make sure they're encrypted. Use two-factor authentication when possible. And ensure system passwords are strong and expire. So this begs the question, what's the best way to accomplish all of this? And the answer is file management at the server is how you do this. So what do we mean by this? File management at the server. Never deliver a file to a computer connected to the network. Only deliver the image. This meets both NIST and ITAR standards. Users don't have direct access to the files and so have little or no control. Force all the printing to be done at the server. This controls who can print, what users can print, and where they can print. And actually comes with the added benefit of being able to add watermarks and stamps for files that are perhaps confidential or out of revision or need approval stamps, etc. Many systems say they don't download files for printing or emailing, but they end up putting files on users' machines in temp files, and this is a NIST violation. So management at the server also allows access restrictions by user role. So here we're showing how ImageSite, our document and workflow management software, can manage users by role. Here we show a group we call project administrators as a role, and then two other users, and this user in particular is being shown as only having view capabilities versus the project administrators that have full control. Management at the server also allows access restrictions by folder and file. So here we're showing access to a specific file, and we're showing that project administrators have full control and full access, and everyone else only has view access. They can't delete, create new folders, download, print, markup, check in, check out, or modify any fields. Information security audits also help. So conducting a NIST compliance audit of your current organizational standards and of employed information systems can identify deficiencies and opportunities for improvement. And this can just be a focused review of management and policy, or it can be a more comprehensive organization-wide audit of the handling of all the information. A comprehensive assessment, for instance, also includes the review of physical files, those in filing cabinets, for instance, information technology infrastructure, the systems themselves, as well as corporate information security policies and procedures. So that's been a brief overview of our security and access control webinar. For those who don't know us well, eQuorum's been around since 1996. We develop, sell, and support ImageSight, our web-based workflow and document management solution, as well as EngineBox.com, our cloud-based SaaS DMS, and PlotStation, our enterprise print and plot management solution. We only sell direct here in the States, and we're an authorized reseller of Canon wide format printers. So we hope the short presentation has been insightful. We have a little time here to answer questions. If we don't get to answer all the questions, like I said before, we'll certainly answer by email after the presentation. So, Maria, do you have any questions here?
Yes, we do have some questions. Our first question is from Jim, who asks, how should we control people sending out email attachments?
Good question. Again, we have that a lot. We certainly encourage users these days to send out file links instead of attachments. This forces the recipients to view the files within a secure system. But we understand, there are definitely times when native files need to be sent to vendors and contractors. For those situations, we suggest the files be passworded, and if possible, send them out as PDFs. Also, if you use a system like ours, like ImageSight, you can send them out as part of a transmittal, which allows you to track who and when the file was sent to, and actually getting confirmation information that the file was received. So, good question that comes up a lot.
And our next question is from Tanya. I'm confused. We don't deal with the government, so why should we worry about NIST regulations?
Okay, Tanya, you're correct. Your company does not have to comply with NIST standards if you're not dealing with the federal government. But, because these standards have become de facto standards, it's really the best way to judge whether your organization is using best practices for information security. There are consulting companies out there doing other types of security audits, and those okay, I guess. But the NIST guidelines are really the most accepted set of standards at the moment. I would go with those.
And our last question is from Wayne, who asks, does your system allow for outside people to look at files they should look at but not see other files?
Good question. Yes. This is a feature of most document management systems, and certainly it is of ours. It's a simple matter to just set up security for those outside users to have access to the files you want them to get to. But also we can do, kind of vectored links too. That's where the outside user just clicks on a link and they get taken to a set of files you want to see and mark up. Also see there's another question here from Jed. How many managed IT services firms in Atlanta who are either reselling or recommending your solution to their clients? So Jed, we don't sell through managed IT services firms. We do all the implementation and installation and support ourselves, including any cloud solutions that we're reselling. And we'll certainly be happy if you'd like to provide a reference list of clients similar to yourself who are using the solution. So I think that's all the questions at the moment. And thank you for participating in this webinar. If you have any questions, please send them to maria.morgan@equorum.com or contact David Thomas, I keep saying that, Thomas, at 404-497-8110, or he can be reached at david.thomas@equorum.com. Again, thank you everybody for participating. We hope to talk to you soon.